So you're thinking about going on a Disney cruise, maybe you've already booked. What do you need to do before your cruise so that you are totally ready to make the most of the magic? I am Ree, welcome back to my channel, Mummy of 4 Does Disney, and in this video I am going to be sharing everything that you need to do and know to cruise with confidence with Disney. So in order to help us plan our trip, I'm going to be using my new magical cruise planner. You do not need to purchase this planner in order to plan your cruise. You can simply grab a pen and paper and jot down notes and make your plans the traditional way. But if you would like to grab either the coil bound printed planner or the perfect bound, it's called, book version of the planner, or indeed the digital version that you can use on a tablet, which to be honest is the version that I use most often when planning our Disney trip, then you can find the link down below. So the first page in the planner, we have got a space to write your family name, how many nights magical cruise you'll be going on, which ship you'll be sailing on, and the date where you're embarking the cruise. There is a space to count down to your cruise. There is nothing more exciting than having a Disney countdown on the way. Let me know in the comments if you've currently got a countdown to a Disney trip or Disney cruise and what your number is. Let me know down in the comments. At the front of the planner, I have got a cruise planning checklist that you can kind of refer back to at any given time during the planning leading up to your cruise. There is a space to put important cruise dates depending on your Castaway Club status, and stay tuned because I will explain all of this later in the video. There is a space to put your emergency contact details so that you've got all of your plans in your hand. It's a good reference point for any emergency details you might require. There is a space to put different channels and accounts to follow for inspiration, for cruise planning, vlogs, outfit planning, that kind of thing. And of course, you might want to watch some of the vlogs on this very channel. You can check out my full vlog series from when we sailed on the Disney Magic in 2021 if you cannot wait for the vlog series when we sail on the Disney Dream in August of 2023. There is a space to put your cruise budget, including an estimated cost of how much you think you're going to have to pay for things, and then an actual cost of what you end up paying. There are pages for cruise savings, so you can total up how much you've saved and how much you've got in your cruise spending pot. But then really, if we're going to start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. Let me know down in the comments if you know which film that's from and if it's one of your favourites too. But really, the very first thing you need to do when planning your Disney cruise is think about what you want to book. So I have got space in the planner for collecting quotes. You need to consider which ship you want to sail on, how many nights you're going to sail, your embarkation and debarkation dates of the cruise, which port you'll sail from, which category of stateroom you'll go for, be it an inside stateroom, which means no windows, although some of the inside staterooms have secret windows, kind of screens that look a little bit like windows, an ocean view stateroom, which would be a stateroom with a big window of the ocean, but it doesn't open onto any sort of veranda, a veranda stateroom, which has doors that you can open and go onto a little balcony, or a concierge stateroom, which is really the top end, most luxurious type of stateroom you can get on the Disney ships. When you're getting your quotes, if you try for different nights, different staterooms, different ships, obviously the prices will vary widely. So a lot of the things that I'm going to discuss in this video will be relevant regardless of which option you go for, but honestly, choosing the different options is really worth pricing around. If you move the cruise to a different date, if you move your stateroom to a different deck, the price will vary massively. You need to think about if you're booking direct with Disney or using a travel agent, and there is space for all of this information in the planner. Or as I said, just grab a pen and paper and jot it away in a notebook. Another thing you need to look at is, will you be staying near the port prior to sailing? We personally live in Wales and we last sailed from Southampton, that's where we'll be sailing from again, which is drivable in the day. However, I just didn't fancy the stress of running into traffic, so we drove up the night before, stayed in a local hotel. We'll be doing the same again this trip, and that way we can wake up fresh and excited for our Disney cruise, knowing we're just a few minutes from the port. Then once you've got all of your quotes together and you make your actual booking, there's a space in the planner to put all of your actual plans. The ship you're going on, how many nights you're sailing, your booking reference, your travel provider, embarkation and debarkation dates, ports, the price you're paying, whether there's any discount because you've had a placeholder down. Now, a placeholder is a deposit that you pay while you are on a Disney cruise. Last time we cruised with Disney, we did give them a $250 placeholder, which I was then able to cash in against booking the next cruise. They're valid for 2 years and they are fully refundable if you decide not to book. Then it's got a space to put your deposit amount and the date your deposit is due. This is because when you actually book your stateroom on a Disney cruise, you have got 3 days.
3 days? Got that? 3 days.
To pay your deposit. You do not have to hand over your hard-earned cash at the moment you book your room, but if you do not pay within 3 days, then your stateroom will be released. So it's important to put the date where that deposit is due and pay it in a timely fashion. Then you've got the balance amount that you'll need to pay. You can pay this in installments if you wish to, as long as it's paid by the date the balance is due. There's space to put your actual stateroom number you've booked, the deck you're staying on, the stateroom category, and your port arrival time, which you will find out during the online check-in process. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Then there's a space to put all of the different information about how you're going to travel to and from the port. Now, like I said, we are traveling via car, driving to the port, staying there the night before, and then parking at the port. But depending where you're cruising and where you live, you might have to take a flight in order to get to the port. There might be trains involved. There's space to put all of that information, exactly how you're going to get there, times, booking references, how much you paid, all in the planner. Then there's a space for, if you are staying somewhere the night before, to put all the booking information for that in there too. Now, obviously, if you're using the digital version of this, you can actually insert PDFs of booking information directly into the relevant slot in the planner, which I like to do. And if you do fancy the digital version but you're not quite sure how to import or use it, I have got this video that I made over on my main channel about how to import and use a digital planner using an iPad. Although, to be honest, most of that information is relevant whichever tablet you may be using. Then there's a page for the reverse information for when you're traveling home from the port. For us, that's quite straightforward. We're just getting in the car and driving home. But obviously, if you've had to fly to a destination, then that travel planning will be a little bit more complex. Next, we're looking at onboard activities. And there's a space to write the bucket list for all the onboard activities you fancy booking. Now, when your onboard activity window opens, all of these will show up in your Disney Cruise Line app. And downloading the Disney Cruise Line app is one of the things that I mentioned in the checklist at the very front of the planner. It's worth doing as soon as you've booked your cruise. And while the app doesn't totally open up until you get on board the ship and then you really get loads of really exciting information, when your onboard activity booking window opens, then you get a look exactly which options you have available to you. If your onboard activity window has not yet opened, try looking at vlogs on YouTube for ideas about which onboard activities you might fancy. Your onboard activity booking window opening time will depend on which level of Castaway Club member you are. So as a first-time cruiser, you are just a first-time cruiser. Then as a second-time cruiser, you enter the Silver Castaway Club tier and have benefits about booking activities and onboard check-in a little earlier. And then the more you cruise with Disney, the higher up the Castaway Club system you become. The next planning we're going to do is cruise, show and event planning bucket list. So these are more like free and included activities that you want to make sure you get to. Some of these you won't know about until you get onto the actual ship when the options show up in your app. And that's why I'd recommend taking your planner with you on the ship so that when you go through your app, you can see which activities you plan to do over the course of your cruise. But there are certain activities you're going to know are going to be available to you. We're really excited to go on our first normal Disney cruise because as magical as the Disney Magic at Sea cruise was for us, it was a COVID cruise. So we were not allowed off the ship once we embarked. There were lots of restrictions. We had to wear masks indoors. Lots of the standard Disney cruise experiences were not available to us. This time we're looking forward to the Sailor Wave Party, Pirate Night, fireworks at sea and more. Next we've got a Port Adventures bucket list. There are so many port adventure options available that have now popped up in my app. Personally, I'm not going to be booking any of them. I think we're just going to be getting off, having a look around the port for a few hours and then getting back on the ship to make the most of the dream while the ship is quiet. Remember, as a Disney guest, it is your responsibility to get back on the ship by the time you're expected to and not get left behind. Of course, when you book Port Adventures with your cruise provider, You're guaranteed not to be left behind, and if you book with a local provider or you're just wandering around by yourself, the onus is on you to make sure you get back to the ship on time. Well worth remembering. Next, we've got a character meet bucket list. Now we've got space here for the character, the outfit and the location. That's because if you're sailing at certain times, you'll know that the characters may be available in different costumes to meet. For example, we are sailing during the 25th anniversary, so the children are hoping to meet Mickey and Minnie in their captain outfits, their standard cruise outfits, plus their silver anniversary at sea outfits. They're hoping to meet them in their pirate outfits. If you're doing Halloween on the high seas or a very Merry Christmas cruise, they may be in Halloween or Christmas outfits. And all this can go on your bucket list. While obviously we're not going to be in long queues for attractions like we might be at the parks, there may be queues for the characters. And while the parks have facilities for avoiding queues for guests with autism, I have checked with Disney Cruise Line and they still don't have a specific autism queuing policy. They do say that you can leave another guest in the queue in the place of the person with autism and they can rejoin them when they're near the front. However, for my children with autism, there may be some struggles of waiting around for characters and things. So by having the planner there, it's a good activity to give them to do while they are in the queue, waiting to meet characters, for example. There's a cruise food bucket list. The food on the Disney Cruise Line is absolutely out of this world. It's fantastic. And while you won't have access to the actual menus on the ship until you embark, and they all show up in your app, there may be certain snacks or treats that you've seen in vlogs, for example, that are going on your bucket list. Something you need to do before your Disney cruise is make sure that you have chosen either the earlier or the later dining option. For our first Disney cruise, I opted for the earlier seating option, thinking, my children eat at 5 p.m. at home, they're going to be starving. It turns out when you eat all day long, you're not necessarily hungry at 6 p.m. So for this cruise, we are going for the second seating, which is the 8:30 dining. Outfit planning. Now you can go as far into this as you feel like on a Disney cruise. There's no strict dress code. However, whether you want to do Disney bounding or Disney style, planning Disney outfits can be a really fun activity prior to your cruise. I've got lots of videos on my channel with loads of different ideas of how you can Disney bound, which is quite simply dressing in normal clothes as opposed to a costume, but in the style of certain characters using their colour palettes. So if you're looking for inspiration, make sure you check out that playlist. There is a specific page for planning out ideas for Pirate Night. Pirate Night on a Disney cruise is a huge highlight and something we're really looking forward to experiencing firsthand. Then there is space for outfit planning. It is not compulsory to change for dinner. I know on some cruise liners there's a very strict dress code for dinner. The dress code on the Disney Cruise Line isn't especially strict as long as you're wearing appropriate footwear and you're covered up. It's quite easygoing compared to some of the more black tie cruise liners. However, on our last cruise, and we'll be doing the same on this cruise, we did have daytime outfits and then change for dinner. So more casual, round the pool outfits, and then something a little bit prettier, a little bit dressier for dinner is a really fun way to pack. So there's space for planning out outfits for you and your fellow Disney cruise guests. We have got a packing checklist. The way I like to use this is to put each person in our party along the top and then tick everything off as I pack everything into the case. I have got a full come pack with me for Disney Cruise video from our last trip. There'll be another one coming up for this trip, so make sure you are subscribed with bell notifications on if you enjoy a pack with me video. But I've also got pack with me for Walt Disney World, pack with me for Disneyland Paris videos, if you enjoy packing and you need a little bit of packing inspiration. Then I've got a complete cruise packing checklist for not necessarily person by person, but just an overall check of items you need. Plus there's space for adding in extras you may think of, including things like toiletries, adapter plugs, which please note, they need to be American adapter plugs so that you can use your chargers and things on the ship. I have got a video of everything that you need to think about packing for the Disney cruise. We're not going to go into packing in massive depth in this video, but check out my pack with me or that specific cruise packing checklist video if you would like more information. There is space for a pre-cruise shopping list, and on here might be any items that you need, such as your sun creams, any items you need to wear, or anything like that. And then you've got your pre-cruise to-do list for any additional items that haven't been mentioned in the planner that might be specific to you. Skipping back to earlier in the planner where we talked about important cruise dates. So the more you cruise, the earlier you can book your actual cruise, meaning you will be getting better choice of staterooms, availability and prices. the earlier you can access online planning and your onboard bookable activities, and the earlier you can do your online check-in. And there is space for putting the dates for your specific Castaway Club member and your specific cruise in the planner. So for online check-in, that will be 30 days before you sail if you're a first-time cruiser. For us as Silverway Castaway Club members, it's 33 days. Gold, Platinum and Pearl Castaway Club members will be able to check in before us. The earlier you check in, the better port arrival time you'll get, and the earlier you can get on the ship. I have got a full video explaining everything about the online check-in, where I vlogged the actual online check-in process and you saw exactly what needed to be done. So make sure you check out that video after you've watched this one before you do your own online check-in. That explained everything you needed in the form of proof of ID for all passengers involved. The type of ID you need may vary depending on where your cruise is departing from. Make sure you check out the Disney Cruise website. I will put a specific link down in the blog post below where you can see which specific ID you need for the cruise that you will be sailing on. For the online check-in, you do need to make sure though you have the photographs of the relevant ID and a photograph of each passenger against a plain wall, a passport style photograph, but you are allowed to smile in it, for that online check-in process. And you've got those saved on your device that you're going to do the online check-in with in a JPEG format. Now currently, touch wood, the way the world is, there is no COVID testing or vaccination proof required for the cruise that we are sailing on. Please make sure that you check with the Disney Cruise Line at the time that you're sailing. I'm hoping that this does not go back to how it was with the Disney Magic at Sea cruises, where we needed to do testing in advance and then testing again at the port before we got on the ship and upload lots of proof of vaccinations and things. We are hoping that the world has gone back to normal and this isn't something you need to do, but please do check before you cruise. We've got a pre-departure checklist to go through, making sure you pack last minute items. For me, this will be things like hair straighteners that I use every day and have to go in last minute, your phones, your passports or identification documents, your hand luggage, cases, that you've weighed your luggage if you have to fly. The rest of the pre-departure checklist is standard leaving the house stuff, making sure you've turned off any electrical items, locked up, turned on alarm, given keys to whoever's house sitting, that kind of thing. And then the cruise planner moves into your day-to-day planning, including the schedule, and then magical memory pages. In the parks, my children have enjoyed filling out these magical memory pages, including foods we've eaten, shows we've watched, magical things we've done, characters we've met, and I know they'll enjoy filling out these magical memory pages on the cruise too. Now, a lot of the schedule you're not going to know what's happening until you get on board the ship, so you'll know which slot you're having your dining because you will have picked early or later slot prior to boarding, but you won't know which restaurants you're dining in your rotational dining until you get on the ship. Rotational dining in Disney Cruise Line is simply being allocated a different restaurant for each night of your cruise. You get the same table number and the same servers looking after you each night, and you'll know which restaurants you are supposed to be dining in and which table number you're at because you can find this information on your Key to the World card. So when we sailed on the Disney Magic, our Key to the World card said ARLA, which stood for Animators, Rapunzels, Lumieres, and then Animators again on the fourth night. But there are certain things you can fill out on here before you get onto the ship. There are things that you can put into your itinerary before you leave for your cruise, such as your port arrival time that you'll know at online check-in. You can put the times that you will be getting on and off the ship at the port adventures, which you can be found within your app, and you can know whether it's a sea day. You can put in any bookable activities that you know that you've already booked. They can all go in your schedule, but definitely when you get on the ship and you open up your app and you see the other activities, the free activities, or the events you might want to attend during the cruise, you can put all of those into your cruise planner while you're on board the ship. So skipping back to the front of the planner, the cruise planning checklist, we've picked a ship, we've picked a destination. For us, it's the Disney Dream, and we're heading to France. We've selected the dates and the stateroom. We've booked the cruise, paid the deposit. We've booked the travel to the cruise, which actually for us is quite simple. We're just driving. And we've booked accommodation the night before. Done. We have passports and travel documents at the ready. We've checked we've got all the relevant travel insurance. We've checked if there's any pre-travel compliance that we need to do, which luckily for us, there isn't this time. We've got our dining reservations. We know that we're in the later dining. That's all. The rest of it we can sort on the ship. And we've made a decision not to book Remy or Paolo, the paid for extra adult dining, because quite frankly, we found last time all of the food of the ship was so beautiful and I couldn't fit it all in anyway. Online check-in is next for us to do, which is 33 days for us before we sail. The Disney Cruise Line app is downloaded and ready to go. I am deep into outfit planning. I've had some packages delivered today. There will be haul videos coming your way, so make sure you are subscribed with bell notifications on if you want to see all of the cruise outfit planning. The packing, all of the packing will be coming. There'll be a full in-depth pack with me video, but make sure you check out my last pack with me video if you want to see what I packed for that. And then it's last minute checks. And that's your Disney cruise planned. You can check out the blog post I've linked down below for anything mentioned, and also the link to my planner store if you want to grab a digital or a book version of your Disney cruise planner. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever been on a Disney cruise, if you're planning to book one, if you've got one booked, and which ship you will be sailing on and how many days until your magical cruise starts. Click on screen now to check out my Patreon, my planner store, or another Disney cruise video that you may find helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.